Bruchot habaot, ladies. Bruchot hanimtzot. So happy you're with us today here at our Ohel Sarah Center and also out there, Torah Anytime. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to click the follow button if you like the shiurim so that you can be notified as to when the next shiur is posting. We have a lot of work to do today. After the last few weeks of unfortunate tragedies and also hopeful news, we have a lot to discuss, a lot of messages that I want to impart to the women of Am Yisrael. So let's begin right away. This week's parasha, we begin a new sefer. The week's parasha is Shemot, which depicts the beginning of Bnei Israel's exile in Egypt. So we're going to try to apply some of the teachings to what's occurring in the world today, especially in our communities, so we can draw out the lessons and correct the mistakes so that we shouldn't experience any more tsa'ar, any more sorrow, any more pain, any more tragedy in Am Yisrael. In our parasha specifically, we learn about some of the schemes that Paro concocted in order to minimize the Jewish population in Egypt, more specifically the male population. Paro's astronomers foretold that a Jewish redeemer would be born at any moment. So Paro came up with a plan to drown the Jewish baby boys, lo alenu. He did this with the understanding that among all those thousands of baby boys that drown, surely one of them will be the redeemer, and as a result, this would delay the redemption permanently. In order for Paro to be successful, he called upon the midwives, Yocheved and Miriam, for assistance. Yocheved and Miriam were also called Shifra and Pu'ah. Chachamim tell us that the name Shifra comes from the word leshaper, which means to beautify. Yocheved not only delivered the babies, but she beautified the child after it exited the womb. She was a midwife that did more than was expected of her. Pu'ah was given that name because she used to coo the baby. When the baby came out, she would play with the baby, kuchi muchi the baby. So she was named Pu'ah because she'd attempt to make the baby happy, smile. So it seems that Yocheved and Miriam were very compassionate women. After all, it must have been very difficult for them to receive a command from Paro himself that they should kill the male children at birth. And the Ben Ish Chai alav shalom asks a question on the following pasuk. Vayomer melech Mitzrayim lameyaldot ha'ivriot, asher shem ha'achat Shifra v'shem ha'shanit Pu'ah. Paro said to the Jewish midwives, Vayomer biyaldechen et ha'ivriot ure'iten al ha'avnaim. When you help to deliver a Jewish baby and you look upon the birthing stone, im benhu v'hamiten oto ve'im bathi v'chaya. If it's a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, you could keep her alive. Asks the Ben Ish Chai, why is there a double Vayomer in the Psukim? Vayomer melech Mitzrayim, and then later on, Vayomer beyaldechen. Why the double Vayomer? And he answers, Paro was concerned that the midwives wouldn't listen because he knew their nature. He knew that they were very compassionate women and that they love their work and they take pride in their work. He realized it would be very difficult for them to carry out the execution of the little male infants. So Paro went against the normal formalities of a king, and he himself decreed that the execution be carried out. Now, in a normal situation, a king wouldn't do this. A king has servants that take care of his requests. This decree should have been taken care of by Paro's advisors. But in this particular case, the Ben Ish Chai says that Paro himself broke all the rules of a king, and he himself approached the midwives. Why? Because he knew that their names were Shifra and Pu'ah, and that they had certain compassionate qualities about them, loving characteristic traits that he wanted to break by intimidating them with his personal decree. So the first Vayomer describes why it was he himself who decreed the command and not his advisors. And the second Vayomer describes what he told them. In other words, the first Vayomer informs us that the reason he spoke to them was because he knew that they were compassionate women who may not want to carry out the decree, so he wanted to intimidate them with his regal presence. The second Vayomer tells us what he told them, which is kill the boys and leave the girls alive. The Ben Ish Chai asks the obvious question: why not kill the girls also? The specific decree was Ve'im bathi v'chaya. If it's a girl, keep her alive. Why? If you are interested in limiting the population, then wipe out the girls also, so there should be no further births. So why didn't Paro kill all the infants, boys and girls all together? Says the Ben Ish Chai, Paro understood the importance of shalom between the Jews in Egypt. He understood the value of unity. He knew that when Jewish people live in harmony, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has mercy on them and He redeems them. He understood the value of achdut. So Paro figured out a way to disturb the domestic peace among Bnei Israel. How? He attacked us in the area of Shalom Bayit. By keeping all the girls alive, he created a disproportionate amount of men versus women. Now there would be 10 women for every 1 man. Poor guy. And what would eventually happen as a result of that? Instead of a man marrying just 1 woman, he'd have to marry 10 women. And Paro understood the inevitable situation that would transpire in such a case. A couple has a hard enough time keeping the peace when it's just 2 people. Could you imagine the balagan when there are 10 wives involved? So Paro was attacking the domestic tranquility among Bnei Israel. What did he stand to gain by it? By disrupting the peace in Klal Yisrael, he was ensuring that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would never redeem the Jewish people. What a diabolical plan he had. And Paro was correct in his calculation to a certain degree, because we know that there was a division among Klal Yisrael. We see that idea when Moshe Rabbeinu saw an Egyptian fighting with a Jew, and he killed the Egyptian. The next day, however, he saw 2 Jews fighting, and he says to them, he says to one of them, what are you doing, Rasha? Why are you hitting your friend? Moshe was trying to be the peacemaker. And how did these 2 Jews respond to the peacemaker? Who exactly made you the authority over us? Are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Achen noda hadavar. I see that the item has been revealed to me. Meaning, what does that mean? Moshe Rabbeinu realizes that the killing of the Egyptian was out in the open now, and maybe Paro is going to find out about it and he's going to have him executed. So Moshe was forced to run away to Midian. That's one interpretation. But the Midrash offers another explanation on this pasuk, Achen noda hadavar. Chachamim say that when Moshe Rabbeinu saw the beginning of the enslavement of the Jewish people, he turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he asked, why do they deserve this exile? If we were the chosen nation, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu persecute us? And the Midrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't answer Moshe, and the question was left kind of up in the air, one big question mark. But when this incident took place with the 2 Jews who responded to Moshe Rabbeinu in the manner that they did, and they even threatened him that they were going to now go be moser him to Paro, then Moshe Rabbeinu realized why it is that we're still in exile. He asked himself, what happened to the Jewish people? How could we have sunk so low? Achen noda hadavar. I have the answer to my question. Indeed, everything is now clarified before me, because if this is the attitude of the Jews, if they don't know how to coexist peacefully, if they're threatening each other, then the answer is obvious. The exile is being prolonged because of the animosity amid our people. And the Ben Ish Chai says that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't the only one who knew this. Paro also knew it. That's why he tried to attack our Shalom Bayit. He wanted to disrupt the peace. He wanted to create fighting and hatred among the Jews. Perhaps this is what the Psukim in Yeshaya HaNavi alav shalom means when it says, Me'arsaich u'mecharvaich mimech yetzeu. The ones who destroy and the ones who tear down come from among you. They come from you. Me'arsaich u'mecharvaich mimech yetzeu. Jews do more harm to themselves than the enemy does to us sometimes, believe me. And it's because of machloket and unwarranted hatred. It's because of the silly politics, the fights and the arguments and all that lashon hara that spread. It's because of the lack of tzniut out there that the galut is being extended. At the end of the day, we're the ones guilty of extending this galut, and Paro knew that. Paro knew that quite well. The Yisrael Lev, alav shalom, speaks about the era of Mashiach that we call Chevlei Mashiach. It's not commonly referred to as Yemei Mashiach, but rather Chevlei Mashiach, the birth pangs of Mashiach. That's the time that we're living in, ladies. And the Yisrael Lev asks, what pain are we referring to exactly? Or what birth pangs? And he says that it's the pain of senseless hatred. It's the fighting, the gossip, the rumors, the lack of compassion. This is the Chevlei Mashiach. And that's what's happening in our day and age. This disunity that exists doesn't hasten the coming of Mashiach, it only delays it. And then, ladies, you have gatherings like we had this past Sunday night at the Palace Wedding Hall in Brooklyn, New York, where we saw thousands of women coming together in unity in order to strengthen themselves in ruchaniyut. And tens of thousands of women tuned into Torah Anytime to join that evening of Hitorerut live, with their live streaming, in remembrance of the recent tragedies that have afflicted Am Yisrael. We showed HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we do have the ability to unite and to heed the call when necessary. We just have to prolong that. But Paro knew the concept of disunity, and that's why he wanted to keep the girls alive. The Gemara says that when a man gets married, ish v'isha zachu, shchina shoya benehem. When there's peace in a Jewish home, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rests there, and the home is transformed into a miniature Bet Mikdash. You should know that the table that a woman uses to prepare the chalot, it's like the shulchan in the Bet HaMikdash. The candles that you light Friday night are like the burning flames of the menorah in the Bet HaMikdash. The food that you cook for Shabbat is like the Cohen Gadol bringing up the korbanot. And when there's peace in the home, the Shekhinah rests between you and your husband. And it's like you're bringing the Shekhinah into your Bet Mikdash. But when there's no peace between you and your husband, HaKadosh Baruch Hu removes his name from amid you, and all that's left is a burning fire that consumes the entire house. Paro knew this. He was a real anti-Semite. He knew our spiritual weaknesses, and he was therefore able to wage war against us on a spiritual level, on a very high level. The Ben Ish Chai adds another reason why Paro wanted to keep the girls alive. He had another plan, diabolical plan. What plan was that? The plan of Znut. of promiscuity. Paro figured he'd have so many Jewish women around that they were bound to sway off the path of modesty and involve themselves in illicit relationships with the Egyptian men. Paro knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates zima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu detests promiscuity and immorality. Paro thought that if he keeps all the girls alive, they're bound to get involved with the Egyptian men, and that's going to cause a tremendous spiritual downfall in Am Yisrael. As a matter of fact, the Gemara tells us that the Egyptians were shtufei zima. They were drenched and steeped in immorality. Mitzrayim was the center of perverse behavior. And the Torah Kedosha describes quite clearly what types of immoral acts took place in that land. We don't have to get into details. You could imagine. As a matter of fact, don't imagine. So Paro thought that if you put Jewish girls in such an immoral society, in such a degraded society, a decadent place, it's only a matter of time before the girls lose their sense of shame. It's only a matter of time before these girls lose their sense of busha, lose their sensitivity towards kedusha, and ultimately they're going to become corrupt. And since HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates it when Jewish women debase themselves, he knew that that would ensure the downfall of our people. You hear this? But guess what? The Jewish women made us very proud. The Torah Kedosha says that we were able to maintain our modest lifestyle, behavior, and dress, and those women in Mitzrayim didn't engage in immodest behavior. They were tznuot. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the women in Mitzrayim such credit that the Gemara says, B'zchut nashim tzadkaniyot nig'alu avotenu mimitzrayim. It was in the merit of those righteous women who preserved their modesty and they didn't allow themselves to falter from the path of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what helped to redeem the nation. In this one area, Paro's plan backfired. Instead of being involved in an Averah, we turned his evil plot into a zechut that helped to redeem us from Mitzrayim. Which brings me to what I wanted to share with you today. Yesterday, there was also last night a gathering for men at the same place. The Skalena Rebbe's son spoke. The Skalena Rebbe is a big tzaddik, shalita, sheizke leyamim tovim ve'aruchim. When the Skalena Rebbe speaks, we listen. When the Skalena Rebbe says something, we have to be on our tippy toes. This is a man with tremendous foresight and vision. And his son spoke on his behalf. His son brought us a message from his father. I wrote down some points. I felt they were so poignant. And I have here, let me bring the Chumash. I was so moved by what he said, and it fits so nicely into my shiur. I didn't have time to write it, but I have it here. I took notes on what he said. Ladies, he said that the Rebbe said that the Gemara says, Hasharui belo isha, sharui belo choma. A man who does not have a wife, does not have a woman in his life, sharui belo choma. He does not have a protective wall. Does not have a wall that surrounds him in order to protect him. Do you know what that means? That means that every woman in her home is the protective fence for that house. You are the choma. You are a wall of protection for your home. We call Yerushalayim, the walls of Yerushalayim, chomot. is not just a kir, it's not just a standard wall. A choma is like a wall of a fortress. It's meant to secure the house, to keep it safe, protected. When a woman maintains the dignity, kedusha, and tahara of a Jewish woman, that wall remains standing, says the Rebbe. But when the woman begins to breach that wall, that choma, with her lack of tzniut, and he spoke a lot about tzniut, and he spoke mainly, 99.9% it was about the shaitels and how we have to remove our shaitels and put on the kisui rosh, the head coverings that our grandmothers and great-grandmothers used to wear. I'm not going to get into that right now. You know how I feel about this particular subject matter. But he spoke a lot about the kisui rosh and how this lack of tzniut in Am Yisrael, with the long shaitels, and he said something I said, Baruch Hashem chivanti. And when he said it, I was so happy. I was like, oh, Hashem loves me so much. I can't believe the Rebbe said it. The Rebbe said, a woman who puts on a shaitel in this day and age doesn't look like she's married. That's what he said. And that's a big problem, when these shaitels make you look like you're unattached. But anyway, going back to his main point, you are the protective walls of your home. You are the choma. Hasharoi belo isha, sharoi belo choma. When there's no isha in the house, in the sense, he said, that you're not protecting the house, sharoi belo choma. There is no wall. There is no protective, there's no protection. But here's the thing, ladies. He said such a beautiful vart. He said that in Sefer Bereshit, Parashat Vayera, Perek Yudchet, Pasuk Tet, I'm telling you, reading with you inside, I made some notes. We're told that the Malachim, the three Malachim, came to visit Avraham Avinu. Actually, they came in order to inform him that Sarah was going to have a child. They came to help heal him from the wounds of the Brit Milah, and they also came to inform him about the city of Sodom, the destruction of Sodom. I'm learning with you inside, which is something we rarely do, but I wanted to read it with you inside so that you appreciate the text even more. Pasuk Tet. Vayomu elav. Now they come to Abraham's tent. The first thing they do is they ask. Vayomu elav. Ayei Sarah ishtecha. Where is Sarah, your wife? Vayomer, and he answered them, he says, Hineva ohel. Behold, she is in the tent. Rashi HaKadosh answers on the words Hineva ohel. She's in the tent. He tzenu'ah. Avram was informing the Malachim, by the way, she's in the tent. She's tzenu'ah. She's modest. She's not a woman that goes gallivanting in the streets. She's in the ohel. She's isha tzenu'ah. The Skalana Rebbe asks on this inyan, he says something very interesting. He says these Malachim come and the first thing they ask Avraham is, where's your wife? That's a strange question to ask first and foremost when you're coming to visit a male in the home. Where's your wife? Why did the Malachim not first and foremost come into the tent, sit with Avraham, engage with him in conversation? They should have first and foremost tried to help heal his wound, and then they should have given him the Besorah Tova, the good news that Sarah was going to have a child, Yitzhak, and then they should have said, and by the way, since we're giving you this good news, where's your wife? Well, maybe we'll tell her the good news. Where's your wife? That should have been the order. Instead, they reversed the order. First, they asked him, where's your wife? After they asked him, where's your wife? The pasuk And he answers, by the way, she's in the ohel, she's in the tent. The pasuk says something very interesting. Pasuk Yud. Vayomer, one of the malachim, tells Avraham Avinu, Shav ashuv elecha ka'et chaya vehine ven lesara ishtecha. They tell him, by the way, we're going to come back next year around Pesach time because your wife is going to have a child and he's going to have a brit milah. We're here to tell you that Sarah is going to have a child. Right after Avraham tells him, Hinei ba'ohel, she's in the tent. The Skalana Rebbe asks, that's very interesting. These malachim come. The first thing they ask is, where's your wife? Where's Sarah, your wife? Avraham says she's in the ohel. After he tells them she's in the ohel, the malachim answer, oh, she's in the ohel, very nice. We're going to come back next year around Pesach time, says Rashi. And we're letting you know that we have good news for you. Sarah is going to have a child. Why did it happen this way? Why didn't the malachim first enter the tent of Avraham? Why didn't they get into a conversation with him, heal his wound, talk to him about the fact that he was going to have a child, and then, as a by the way, since we gave you the Besorah that you're going to have a child, where's your wife Sarah? Where is she? We should give her the good news. They reversed the order. First they ask, where's your wife? Which is an odd thing for strangers to ask. He tells them she's in the ohel. After that, they tell him she's in the ohel. Oh, well, I have good news. We have good news to tell you. She's going to have a baby, and we're coming back Pesach time for the Brit. What's going on over here? Why the reversed order? Says the Skalana Rebbe on these psukim that Rashi says, I'm quoting you. Says Rashi on this pasuk, Chachamim bebaba metzia omrim. The Chachamim in the Gemara Baba Metzia, they say, Yodim hayu malachei asharet, Sarah imenu hechan hayta. The Chachamim knew where Sarah was. Why did they ask, Ayei Sarah ishtecha? Ela lehodia shetznuah hayta kedei lechaveva al ba'ala. They knew where she was, but they also knew that Avraham would say, she's in the tent. And that would cause him to feel a tremendous love and pride for her, more of an affinity towards her. Why? Lehodia shetznuah hayta, because that would make him understand how tznuah she was. But here's the clinch. Here's the ladies. I almost fell off my chair when I heard this vart from the Skalanda Rebbe, which was brought down by his son through him. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, alav hashalom, kedei l'shager la kos shel bracha. They did all this. They reversed the order in order to bestow upon Sarah a kos shel bracha, a cup of bracha. Kos yeshuot esa. It's the elevation of a kos shel bracha. Something was going to happen. A bracha was going to ensue. But in order for that bracha to be given over, something had to happen. What had to happen? Says the Skalana Rebbe. Once they realized Sarah was truly a modest woman, when they asked Ayei Sarah ishtecha, it was because they knew that the answer was going to be she's in the ohel. Once they knew, they heard with their own ears what a modest woman she was, they were able to bring the beracha from Hashem, the good news that she was going to have a child. That's why the next pasuk says, Shav ashuv elecha ka'et chaya vehine ben lesara ishtecha. If that's the case, if you are telling us that your wife is in the ohel and she's tznuah, the bracha is coming to her. And she's going to have a baby, and next year, Pesach time, we're going to come again. You hear the connection? in order for the Malachim to be able to bestow the bracha upon Avraham and Sarah, tzniut had to be present. Because Sarah was in the ohel, they gave her good news. You're going to have a baby. There's going to be a koshel bracha that's going to be bestowed upon you, and we're coming back again for the Brit Milah of this baby, of this miracle baby Yitzchak, who's going to be the prodigy of Am Yisrael. And through him will come the Yaakov and all the Shvatim and all of Am Yisrael. Do you hear this amazing vart? But the Skalana Rebbe that was said over last night through his son. And his point was so clear and vivid. You want a koshel bracha? You want a kos yeshuot? You have to be tznuah. You have to be modest in your ways. You have to be ba'ohel. You have to have the attitude of the ohel. You have to engage in acts of tzniut and not the opposite. Because if the opposite was true, the Malachim would not have given the Besorah Tovah. It's because Sarah was tznu'ah that the bracha flowed into the house. And they had a baby that year. Hasharui belo isha, sharui belo choma. When there is no protective wall in the house, when a woman is not maintaining her mahut, her status as a Jewish woman, when tzniut is lacking, the home is unprotected and bracha does not flow into your house. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not there. The Shekhinah cannot be in a place with no Kedusha. It's very interesting. Avraham, Sarah, is Rashet Tevot Esh. The fire that burned in that house was a fire of Emunah Shelema in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of Or Sichli, of Torah and Kedusha and Tahara. The fire of love for the Ribono Shel Olam. The fire of teaching Torah. Avraham and Sarah were the pillars of monotheism in the world at that time. They reached out to so many people and they were mekarvim the whole world to a monotheistic ideology. It was a fire of passion for good, for quality of life, for the value and ruhaniyut, for the neshama, which in itself is a flame that burns inside of you. But when the walls are breached, when the choma is breached, then the fires that consume, and the unhealthy fires, and the destructive fires, they penetrate those walls, and they consume everything in their midst. Hence, ish ve'isha zachu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in your house, when the Kedusha is in your house, when there's tzniut in your house, when the Machaneh is Kadosh, Shechina shroya benechem. The Shechina is amid you. But if you're going to remove the Kedusha, if there will be no tzniut, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is removed from your home by virtue of the fact that there is no modesty or holiness in your edifice, then what's left is Esh. Then what's left is Esh. Ladies, it's one thing when the fire consumes the walls and the materialism of the house. But it's a big siman when those fires are destroying human beings themselves, when they're consuming innocent people, tamim people, pure and innocent people. This is what I came to talk to you about tzniut. If the Skalana Rebbe says we have to take upon ourselves a higher level of tzniut, maintain and preserve our kedusha as women in Am Yisrael, that is a big warning. So ladies, here in this room, out there in the world, you're watching, all the viewers that tune in every week to this lecture, all of you who write in with all your positive feedback, I have an idea of how we could correct the breaches of the Chomot. Join me in my program. This apartment, which is our little miniature Bet Migdash, our little Ohel Sarah tent center for women and for young girls, needs to expand. We need to break down the kirot, the temporary walls, in order to make a larger space, to build fortresses, in order to inspire more women that can come here and join us, who will learn more Torah, feel inspired, and in turn make the necessary changes in their life. I need your help. I cannot do it alone. Help me be metaken the Chomot. Help me reach out to other ladies and build fortresses. I need to knock down these walls. I need to renovate and make a bigger space for the tent of the women of Klal Yisrael. You can help me to do that. The renovations are going to cost a few $1,000s, not a lot. A little over $3,000. That's not a lot to create fortresses of protection and security. So let me be very blunt about it. If 35 ladies, 35 each, donated $100 for this year, for us to expand our horizons, for us to break down these temporary walls and make a bigger space so that more women can come to this center of learning, so we'll finish faster. The job will get done quicker. If not, if 100 ladies, which means it might take longer, or if you guys quickly respond, 100 ladies give $35 each. A one-time donation of $35. You could give more. You could say, no, I want to sponsor $200 worth. I want to sponsor the whole thing. That would be amazing. Wouldn't that be amazing? But 100 ladies could give $35. 100 ladies is not a lot. We've got thousands of viewers, and you guys come here every week. 100 ladies give us $35. By Purim, we could be done. And I will film the renovations, I will film the outcome, and I will show you guys here and out there what you did to help build fortresses of security. I'm asking for your help. Please reach out to us and help us in this wonderful, holy endeavor of ours. And any woman who comes to this center of learning, and it's not just a center of learning, it is a house, it is a bait. The ladies don't want to go away from here, they don't want another place. We could rent a place. They don't want. They want to feel what it's like to be in the warmth of a home. And I can understand that. So any lady who comes to this house and takes something upon herself, and her life changes for the good, and in turn, her husband's life changes, and her children and grandchildren's life changes, that's in your merit. All the zchuyot belong to you. So please, I ask you, you know how much I try to teach you, how much of the classes I endeavor to write one after the next for the sake of for your sake, for the sake of Klal Yisrael, for the women and their hitkadmut and their advancement in Torah, in Maasim, in holiness. So please respond to me. Help me help others. Help me build fortresses of steel. Secure homes. Help me. Help me to help others, to reach out to others so that we can avoid the tragedy in our midst. And together, Be'ezrat Hashem, as we break down walls but build fortresses, we can bring the Mashiach through our learning, through our gatherings, through our mission. Moving on. So Paro thought that if you put Jewish girls in such an immoral society, it's only a matter of time before we cave in. Is this not an immoral society, the society that we're living in today? How can we apply this idea, ladies, to our generation? Unfortunately, tzniut still has to be conquered in our communities. We could say that it's one of the most neglected mitzvot that has had some severe setbacks. What we have to remember is that much of what's accepted in the secular world, in the world of entertainment, it's literally opposing the Torah's command concerning tzniut, whether the area of tzniut is speech, whether it's dress, whether it's our behavior, whether it's the way you're covering your hair. The Gaon of Vilna, Alav Shalom, said that what Torah is to a man, tzniut is to a woman. If a man has to commit himself to learning, to make it an integral part of his life, so too, says the Gaon of Vilna, a woman has to devote herself and work hard at maintaining her tzniut, because that's what a Jewish woman means. One woman once told me, I don't do it to attract the men or other people, I do it for myself. I want to look good. I said to her, you do it for yourself, huh? If you do it for yourself, why do you have a slit in the back of your skirt? you the slits in the back of your skirt. You can't see the slit. You can't get hana'ah, pleasure from your slit. What kind of pleasure do you get from it? She had no answer. When a couple gets married, we give them a bracha. Sameach tesamach, re'im ahuvim, kesamechacha yetzircha, began eden mikedem. We bless the Chatan and Kala, saying, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give you the same happiness that Adam and Chava had in Gan Eden. May you be zoichet to have the type of marriage that they had. What does that mean? You see, when Chava adorned herself and beautified herself, for whom did she make herself beautiful? Who did Chava want to impress? Obviously it was Adam, because there was no other man around in the world. Chava made herself beautiful for only one man, for her husband only. So we bless the Chatan and Kala with the bracha of this modesty that existed already from Bereshit. Chaval on these women who dress immodestly and they entice other men. Chaval on those women that wear those long shaitels and other men cannot tell that they are married. And they look at them in a different way. Chaval on those women who are attracting other women's husbands and causing major shalom bayit issues in somebody else's house. This is what Shlomo HaMelech meant, alav shalom, when he said, sheker achen vehevel hayofi. That type of beauty is false and it's vain. It's fascinating to see what takes place today. Because in the house, a woman is very uncomely. She doesn't necessarily take care of herself in the house, but when she goes out, pitom, she gets all fapit, she gets all dressed up, she beautifies herself. That's not in the spirit of the first marriage that took place in Gan Eden, ladies. A woman's beautification should take place at home and remain there. That's not to say, by the way, that when you leave your home, you should look like the Wicked Witch of the West. No, that's not what it means. It just means that it has to be in moderation when you go out. You can't look outside like you're supposed to look inside for your husband. It has to be the reverse. You have to be more beautiful inside for your husband than you are outside. You have to minimize. You have to minimize when you're going out. Interestingly, the Gemara says that a woman has 3 primary mitzvot. Hadlakat haner, chala, and nida. Shlomo HaMelech says, sheker hachen. The word hachen is Rashi Tevot for the words Hadlakat haner, chala, and nida. Sheker hachen. When a woman is in contempt of this feminine code called hachen, when she threatens these 3 integral mitzvot that belong only to a Jewish woman, then hevel hayofi, then the beauty is lacking. It turns into something that's purely physical, and it leads to hevel, to nothingness, to havel, to destruction. Sheker achen means when the woman isn't fulfilling these mitzvot properly, now what is her beauty really worth? Something that's only physical has no real value. Now, of course, a woman is permitted to be beautiful. I told you that. And our imahot were very beautiful women. But it was true beauty. It was the kind of glory and splendor that radiated from within, dafka, because they didn't reveal themselves to anyone else but their husbands. All of their beauty was revealed only to their husbands. When the woman is tznuah, that in itself makes her beautiful. You know, in Hebrew, the word for beauty is yafeh, or yafa for a girl. One of the rabbis said beautifully that the word yafa stands for something. It's Rashi Tevot. Yesh po Hashem. Jewish people look at beauty as a gift from a Kadosh Baruch Hu like anything else in life. Therefore, it can't be abused or taken advantage of. The avonot that are being committed in the area of modesty in our communities, ladies, it's shameful already. It came to a point where it's mamash, it's gvar mevayesh. The Gemara informs us, by the way, that the angels' feet, they unified. It says regel yeshara. That means that their mahalach, their decision making, it doesn't waver. But we human beings have 2 feet. 1 foot tells us to engage in a mitzvah, while the other foot tells us to do an averah. We're constantly struggling between obedience and rebellion. We have 2 feet. What are we going to do? But the malachim have a regel yeshara. And maybe that's why when we daven, we have to put our feet together. Why? Shene'emar v'raglehem regel yeshara. When we stand before the Ribono Shel Olam and we pray, the obedience we have to have is like the Malachim. Therefore, our feet cannot be apart. And when we daven to Hashem in that way, that shows how loyal we are to Hashem, to Him and to His mitzvot. There's a pasuk in Sefer Tehillim that describes Yosef HaTzadik alav shalom. It says, Le'eved nimkar Yosef. Yosef was sold as a slave. Inu b'chevel raglav. They inflicted him with pain and they chained his feet in prison. Now, if you look closely at this pasuk, even though the word raglav is written exactly the way it's supposed to be written, Resh Gimel Lamed Yud Vav, we pronounce the word in Tehillim not as raglav, rather as raglo, which means they chained his foot, not his feet, even though it's written as if it's feet, but it's pronounced foot. Says Rav Breuer, what does it mean that they chained his foot? Why the singular term, even though it's written in the plural? What happened to Yosef? He was thrown into prison because Eshet Potiphar, Potiphar's wife, attempted to seduce him day in and day out. And she became angry with him precisely because this young boy would not buckle to her demands. He didn't succumb to her temptations, and instead he walked the straight path like the angels who have one regel, one foot. He kept his conviction, and that's what upset Eshet Potiphar. That's why when they bound him up, the lashon that's used is raglo, because Yosef was committed to that straight path. He was like a malach, where he's one with Hashem. But in this generation, ladies, many of us lack self-control. And that's something we have to consider. You have to control yourself a little bit. You know, many years ago, the Chafetz Chaim alav shalom reacted to a flood that took place in Poland, and he reacted to a big earthquake that occurred in Russia. And he wrote a letter to the Jews of that time saying the following: Ma lecha nirdam? Why are you sleeping? Why are you asleep? There was a great flood in Poland and a huge earthquake in Russia. Thousands of people were killed, and many of their homes became their graves. This is a warning to us, and we should fear it, he said. What is Hashem doing to us? Is Hashem not good? Is He not kind and compassionate? Hashem doesn't want to see the death of any of His creations. And then he wrote, but it should be clear to us that Hashem is warning us that we have to do teshuvah. He's showing us that He's all-powerful. Who can tell Hashem what to do? And it's clear to me that if we had Nevi'im in our generation, then certainly they would guide us and warn us. But we have no prophets in our generation. Who then are the Nevi'im of our generation? The Nevi'im of our generation are the catastrophe and the calamities that befall us, says the Chafetz Chaim. And then he quotes a pasuk: Oseh malachav ruchot, mesharetav esh lohet. Who are HaKadosh Baruch Hu's messengers today? Oseh malachav ruchot, the tornadoes. Who are His servants? Mesharetav esh lohet. Who are His servants? The fires are His servants. When catastrophe hits the world, and especially our communities, no matter where it is, that's like a Navi coming to tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not pleased with us. It's a wake-up call to do teshuvah. But when there's immorality in the world, and amid our people, the pasuk says, V'shav me'acharecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu retreats back to the heavens, and unfortunately the world is left kiviyachol, to chance. But I want to tell you, if our private communities are hit, and our communities have been hit for a while now, the tragedy of this family, of the Azan family in Kamoa. I remember going shopping a couple of times in the store where Mr. Azan used to work, and how helpful he was every time we went into that store. He is malech chen verachamim, this man. But our communities are being hit, and tragedy has struck in the form of every kind: water, fire, wind, adama. Chachamim say, if it's a fire, we're told that much of it has to do with the immodesty in the world. You know, after the tsunami hit Southeast Asia all those years ago, there was a statistic that was done where we read in the newspapers that 6.7 million women started to shop for less revealing apparel. That's amazing, right? Now, who put these statistics together? You're not going to believe it. The National Council of Churches. You hear that? In March of that year, there was a modest fashion show that was organized by the Mormon churches in Utah, because they realized that if there was such a tsunami like this, it's a sign that modesty is lacking. The Goyim understand this. So they had a modest fashion show, so the women could start being a little bit more modest, and 6.7 million ladies responded to this and shopped for more tsanua clothing. So where are we in this grand picture? The Catholics are getting nervous. The Christians are getting nervous. The Mormons are getting nervous. And Am Yisrael, who are supposed to be a light unto the nations of the world and charged with the highest level of tzniut, we should be the ones neglecting this holy mitzvah. We should be the ones promoting this mitzvah. We should be the ones with the statistics out there, not them. You don't know how happy I was when I heard those Rebbitzins speak on Sunday night's gathering about the importance of tzniut and how a breach in this area is causing the calamities in our communities. The Rebbitzins spoke about modest clothing, about the tragedies of the shaitels, about the internet and the cell phones. Ladies, you have to know that tzniut is the support beam of Yahadut. And Paro knew that. He knew that if he could attack this area of Yahadut, slowly but surely we're going to crumble and collapse as a nation. He knew we'd bring calamity to our own circles if we neglect this mitzvah. And history seems to be repeating itself. The Paro of our generation is embedded in the Yetzer Hara that persuades us to engage in and to behave in ways that are not suitable for a Bat Melech. You're all Benot Melech. Aren't you proud of that? Don't you want to walk around looking, behaving, speaking in a dignified, refined manner that reflects your essence, which is the daughter of the greatest king of the entire universe? But when we do the opposite, when we breach the fences of tzniut that are meant to guard our homes and secure them, when the woman is supposed to be the chomah and that wall is breached, then you know what happens. HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows nature to breach its borders. And then the fires begin to penetrate our walls and destroys everything in it, including the most precious possessions we possess. Because without our children, there's no continuity, and there's no hope. All these recent tragedies, beginning with the loss of our Gedolim. We forgot who we lost in the last few years. We forgot that in the last few weeks, we didn't just lose the Azan family. We lost a big tzaddik. All of these tragedies, beginning with the loss of our Gedolim, are in actuality the makot. The makot of Mitzrayim are coming back in the form of nature, just like it did back then. And nature itself is outraged by what Am Yisrael has become. Nature itself, the fires are raging and calling out on behalf of Borei Olam. The floods, the hurricanes, the fires, they're all the voices of Hashem. These are our Nevi'im, and we have to heed the warning so that we could fulfill the second part of the Nevuah connected to Mitzrayim. It was in the merit of righteous women that we were redeemed from Egypt. It's because those women remained strong and faithful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, loyal to their husbands, devoted to their tzniut, that we merited a chance to escape that bondage. But ladies, the good news is, בזכותן עתידין להיגאל. In the merit of the righteous women in Am Yisrael, we're going to merit to be redeemed very soon. It's because of you and all of your efforts and all of the things you're going to do to change our current state. And I have faith, and all of you women and all the girls out there in Am Yisrael, I have faith in all of you. I know that we can and will strengthen ourselves in the area of tzniut because we must. I know that we're going to step up the game and become more modest in our dress, in our behavior, in our attitudes, in the technology. And I know how much pain we're all experiencing, and I know that we all want to stop it already. And it's going to stop when we understand what's really going on, and that we're bringing it upon ourselves. I'm so proud of all those women who joined on that night. I'm proud of those 55,000 viewers that tuned into Torah Anytime to watch that gathering. I'm so proud of those ladies that took upon themselves something on that night and every day since. Ashrechem Yisrael, Ashrechem Benot Chayin. Let's take the lessons of this parasha, Parashat Shemot, which means names, Shemot. Let's start to live up to the holy names and trust it to us by Kadosh Baruch Hu. We are Yisrael. Let's rise up from the ashes and plant seeds of hope and life. And together, you and me, the women of this holy nation, we're the ones who are going to defeat the darkness. And we're going to lead our people into a joyous day of light, of brachot, of the kos beracha, and the miracle of the ultimate redemption bekarov mamash. Amen ken, yehi ratzon.